Howdy, welcome to the Maze Mastercast. I'm your host, Ben Wiggins, and we are fired up for today's discussion. The vision of the Maze Mastercast is to connect prospective members to our Maze community by painting the picture of Aggieland through different voices and perspectives. Today's guest, Daniel Zamaran, served 5 years in the Marine Corps as a heavy equipment mechanic and a small craft boat mechanic. After his service, he went on to get his BS in electrical engineering from Texas A&M, where he also conducted research at the Advanced Electric Machines and Power Electronics Lab, EMPE, and assisted with the design of 2 prototype magnetic gears. Daniel is currently working on completing his MBA and joined a startup company called Fluxworks that is continuing the research and development of magnetic gears. We welcome Daniel Zamaran to the show. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Ben. Really appreciate it.
It is our pleasure. And thank you for serving our country in the United States Marine Corps.
Thank you.
The best answer I ever got to that sort of thank you for serving our country, somebody said to me without missing a beat, he said, "Thank you for paying your taxes." And I said, "Well, don't be so sure." Just kidding. From your time in the Corps, what do you think are the most important things that you learned?
Yeah, so actually one of the most important values that I think that have carried me throughout my career was actually a phrase that I picked up from a drill instructor early on in my time in the Marine Corps, actually in boot camp.
Yeah.
It was during a time in training where we have a lot of rotation from barracks just due to the nature of the training.
Yeah.
And it was one of these periods where we were transitioning from our current barracks to a different barracks. And he got a small group of us and he said, "Hey, we always leave a place better than how we found it." Mm. And funny enough, he was talking about cleanliness because we were cleaning the barracks for the incoming unit that was training. Yeah. And we were hoping that the next unit would pay it forward and clean their barracks, the ones that we were going to occupy next. Right. And I took this phrase and I kind of modified it throughout throughout my career. And in my first unit, I was once I got into a leadership role, I was able to pass down all the knowledge and experience that I learned while in that unit to the incoming Marines to help them become efficient mechanics and better Marines while in that unit and pay it forward. So I've used that phrase to adopt all aspects of my career.
And so it sounds like you then extrapolated that out to things beyond cleanliness.
Absolutely.
What does that phrase now mean to you?
Yeah, it means
leave it better than how you found it.
Exactly. So any job that you're in my case, also a research lab that you're in, or that you're entering, you gather your strengths and utilize them to the best of your abilities to hopefully leave an impact on that area, and so they remember you and what you did, and that place is better for having you there.
Yeah. Yeah. Any other stories from your military background? We always find like the military guys and girls have the best stories to share.
Yeah. One of my favorite go-to stories was when I was stationed in Camp Lejeune, North Carolina, in a boat locker. We received a message that a safety boat, a Marine Corps safety boat, and these are 40-foot long boats, about 30,000 pounds, twin 150 horsepower outboard engines, was stuck. And the channels of North Carolina of New River are notoriously difficult to navigate. You have to really follow the channel markers precisely. If not, you'll run aground or hit a sandbar. So this boat that got stuck, we actually knew the unit. So we were already teasing them a little bit. You got a boat stuck, what happened? So when we received the image of the damage, it was one of these, again, 30,000 pound boats completely on dry ground. Exactly.
How's that even possible?
Yeah. So what happened was they were actually training young Marines on how to navigate this boat. Yeah. And I guess the instructor didn't pay attention to who the navigator was doing at that moment. And he, again, they're very small tolerances when it comes to the New River Channel. And he hit a sandbar. So much so that he was able to lift most of the boat on top of it, and then the tide went away.
Yeah.
So they were able to take this perfect image of it completely on dry,
like a
dry
beached
land.
whale.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it took us several hours to try to rescue this boat, to the point where we had to wait for high tide to give us a hand.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad everything all worked out.
Yeah.
You did a lot of mechanical work, both with heavy machinery and craft boats, from what I understand.
Mm-hmm.
What have you learned from that? And since then, what has helped or changed while conducting research at Texas A&M? Like, how has your research mind evolved? What have you pulled from that experience, and what's different about the work you're doing now?
Yeah, so I actually have a perfect story of when I was a mechanic in the Marine Corps that translated very well to doing research. And that was a time when I was stationed in Okinawa, Japan. I was a heavy equipment mechanic, and we had a 10K forklift that came into the shop that had an electrical fault, and those are notoriously very difficult to troubleshoot. So I got handed down that task, and after about 2 days of troubleshooting, I was able to locate the fault to a small section of the piece of gear. But I guess 2 days of troubleshooting was too long, so my sergeant, in frustration, he came to me and said, "Hey, just rip out the wiring harness and replace it." And me knowing that this would at least add about a week of lead time to the maintenance of this piece of gear, I was able to convince him to just give me 2 more days. I'm pretty close to figuring it out. So he reluctantly did, and luckily the next day I figured out the issue was this one piece of wire that led to a headlight. So upon finding it, I cut it, and I went to check the electrical system, and it was working. No more blown fuses. That was the issue. I told my sergeant, "Hey, fix the issue. It was just one wire." To this day, I don't know why he asked me this, but he said, "I want you to splice that same wire back in." And me thinking, "It's the same wire that's bad? You want me to splice it back in?" He said, "Yeah." So, "Okay, you're the sergeant. I'll go ahead and do that." I soldered it back into the system, checked the electrical system, and there was no fault. So that blew my mind, and because of that, I wanted to learn how electricity works, and this is one of the reasons why I got my BS in electrical engineering, because that blew my mind.
What happened?
I have no idea. I've told this story to several electrical engineering professors, and they're like, that's weird. And I'm like, exactly. So I don't know. It might just be, sometimes I call electricity invisible magic, because it just, it surprises me every day sometimes. But the troubleshooting steps that went into figuring out the issues, similar to how we conduct research. You have a problem, or you're trying to solve a problem. And in this case, it's a little bit more difficult to diagnose, as it's a problem that doesn't exist yet, or it's a little bit intangible. Yeah. So trying to figure out the problem and finding the optimal design for that problem is similar to how I dealt with issues in troubleshooting and fixing faults in vehicles.
Yeah. What were your biggest stressors in coming back to school after experiencing life and its changing seasons? What was challenging for you moving back into the academic world?
Yeah, so challenging aspect was being a college student. So prior to that, my last course was in high school, so it was about 6 to 7 years before of gap between classes. Yeah. So coming back to college was rather difficult for me, and I had to really learn how to be a student again. And I actually took a math book with me on one of my last deployments, and it was pre-algebra. So I was barely learning pre-algebra, and my first math class in college was pre-calculus. Yeah. So I felt like everybody was sprinting, and I was barely learning how to crawl. Yeah. Other than that, being in the military, it's a very organized unit, and you have a lot of individuals around you. Instructions coming top down, and sometimes. And feedback coming bottom up, and you also have the peers in your same rank that can help you. So you have a lot of individuals around you that can either guide you or help you succeed. And getting out of that and coming into a system where it's very independent was a big change. And actually, a lot of young service members that get out of the military young, or maybe not in a leadership position, and they go to college, they struggle. They find themselves struggling. Because it all relies on them. They have no one telling them what to do. And this transition was rather difficult, especially going to such a rigorous program like the engineering school at Texas A&M. Luckily, A&M has lots of resources that I took advantage of and helped me succeed, like the VSRE. I help you find mentors and tutors and programs that to succeed. So my advice for any service members to seek out these programs in your universities to help you if you're transitioning from the military to college, as I did.
And just for full understanding, the VSRE is, I assume, Veterans
Resource and Support Center.
Okay.
Yeah, here at Texas A&M.
Okay. Since earning your bachelor's in electrical engineering, you're on your way to finishing your MBA and promoting the startup company Fluxworks. I see the shirt.
Thank you.
What was it like getting to promote the company through Aggie Pitch and actually winning, to achieving first place? What was that experience like?
It was amazing. What was most impactful about the Aggie Pitch program was that we were pitching a engineering design or kind of a very technical product to a lot of business people and a lot of business-minded folks. So having us win and seeing their feedback, hearing their feedback was validation that we are on the right track with this product and that there is value in what we're doing, and that other individuals, not just in the technical side, are actually seeing this. And so having that validation was immense for us. Working with the team was great. My business partner and founder of Fluxworks, Brian Praslika, he is a current PhD student in the electrical engineering department, and he was actually my lab manager when I did research at Texas A&M, and this is how we met. He is a very smart individual, and he really knows the technical side. So combining his technical side with the business acumen that I learned here at the MBA program, we worked very well together, and we were able to create a very, very good business pitch deck. So we were able to explain the technical side to business individuals in a way that made it very easy to understand and very intuitive. So it's kind of that contrast between us two when working together in this presentation that I think helped us succeed.
What is next for you guys business-wise? Like, are you seeking investment capital? Like, what helps you take? What are the things that will help you take the next steps?
Yeah, so right now we're actually looking to keep applying for grants, SBIRs, which is Small Business Innovative Research grants from the government, to kind of help fund the continuation of this project. And our next steps is to actually build the prototype for drone motors for the drone market, to finally have quiet while keeping the same efficiency and reliability for drones. And yeah, exactly. You wouldn't want that delivering your next package in your front lawn, right?
No,
Yeah.
no.
So that is our next steps.
I'm actually thinking of it for a camera application, because right now you can use drones to shoot stuff, but you can't use them to shoot in a studio space like this. But if you had a quiet motor, you could do all kinds of camera moves. I feel like a lot of stuff could become obsolete, especially if you could have a drone that would move up and down, slowly back and forth. You don't need a slider anymore.
Yeah.
All kinds of camera mobility becomes possible if the motors are quiet.
Yeah, camera is great, and package delivery is also one of the avenues that would benefit a lot from having quiet drones, as in residential areas, noise pollution is actually a big deal.
Yeah. So
being able to have quiet drones would finally allow them to kind of break into that market.
Come to the mean streets of South College Station.
Exactly, and hopefully all over the world, and having drones deliver your packages will reduce vehicle emissions, less delivery vans out there, less traffic.
What's been the hardest moment for you, personal or professional?
For me, a difficult challenge during my professional career was when I was conducting research here at Texas A&M. It was when we were constructing our first prototype, and NASA, this was a grant for NASA, and they had really quick turnaround times. So I think in the construction of this magnetic gear, we built it within 6 months from design to construction and assembly. And during that time, I was kind of one of the lead designers constructing the SolidWorks, that how this product came assembled together, how this prototype came assembled together. I kind of miscalculated the tolerances for two components that make up the output shaft.
Yeah.
And which resulted in a critical failure. And we were going to present this gear to another industries to show the validity of the technology and the fact that we were able to make a prototype using magnetic gears. So having that fail and knowing that it was my fault was a rather difficult moment. I had to really, again, acknowledge my failures and tell that to my team, like, hey, this was my fault that this happened. So coming to terms with your failures is rather difficult, but the sooner you can accept it, the sooner you can learn from it, and the more you can learn from it, and it kind of instills more trust from others, knowing that you were able to accept the failures that were your fault and overcome them eventually by wanting to get better.
How did your team handle that moment when you went to them and said, "Hey, this is on me"?
Yeah, it was great because they were very receptive. They're researchers, so they know failure and they understand it. Like, they know things happen this way. So they're very understanding, and I'm sure that they have had failures like this happen to them all the time. So it was great. It was a great response. They were very, very open to it. No use crying over spilled milk. How do we get better, and how do we actually get this working? And that became the next step.
I think that business culture and research culture and just sort of progress culture has improved a lot in that respect. There's not nearly as much like yelling or blaming or finger pointing in there. I think you're much more likely to get that response in 2022 than you would have been in 1992. I mean, I wasn't in the business market back then, but it's still, I think we've made a tremendous amount of progress as, sort of as a civilization in that respect. And obviously that's a very good thing. So big picture, what are your big audacious goals for Fluxworks or for your research? where do you see things going in 10, 15, 20 years?
The number one goal for Fluxworks is to be the number one magnetic gear company globally, not just in the United States, but globally. And I feel like we can achieve that because just the impact that our technology brings to the table would allow us to finally will allow us to do things that we weren't previously able to do. More reliable space robotics, more efficient surgical equipment, quiet drones, and then transition into eVTOL space, which is electric vertical takeoff and landing for personal air travel. So now we can have personal air travel for individuals. And then be quiet and noise free, so we don't contribute to that noise pollution, as well as being emission free, as this would be electrically powered. And so we think that without our technology right now, without it maturing to the point where it can be viable in that space, there's kind of roadblocks there right now. And we know of companies that are trying to break into those areas. That would like for our technology to be mature.
Yeah. Any good bull?
Yeah, absolutely. So I would love to send out good bull to my good friend and business partner, Brighton Praslika. He is one of the smartest and hardworking individuals I've ever met, and I'm honored that he chose me to help him get this company to where it needs to be, and I'm excited for what the future has for us.
Yeah, I'm excited as well. Daniel, thank you for the time today. We appreciate you coming to speak with us.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you for watching. We appreciate your support. Drop us a like below and feel free to leave a comment if you wish. We appreciate positivity and constructive feedback. Don't forget to subscribe to stay up to date on our latest episodes and bonus content. You can also take us on the road using your favorite podcast listening app. We have those linked below. If you'd like to know more about Mays Business School or our guests, visit mays.tamu.edu/podcasts. Talk with you soon.